Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Joe Twin Love, here to bring the sports overview topics number 20. So far, so good. It was a good showing of sports this weekend. First of all, if you're new, like and subscribe. Click on the bell for notifications. A little about the video. Nonetheless, it was a good week of sports. We had a crazy week, NFL Week 8. We had college football, and we also had, the trade deadline is today, the NFL trade deadline, and of course, we had a UFC fight night on Saturday. Uriah Hall versus Anderson Silva. Anderson Silva's last fight in the UFC. We'll go over that more. So with that, first of all, let's get into the NFL trade deadline. There was no real marquee trades in the NFL. I mean, I think every time the trade deadline gets nearer, everybody's hoping for like that big name to come out that we didn't expect. Whether it be like a J.J. Watt or Stephon Gilmore, a name that people thought was possible, or a name that just kind of shakes the boundaries of the NFL. But we didn't get any marquee particular names as far as the NFL trade deadline is concerned. We did get some interesting trades, though, as far as the NFL, but some key players not really interesting. For starters, the Tennessee Titans. They, oh shoot, my phone's a little wet. Excuse me. But so the Tennessee Titans, they acquired Desmond King from the Los Angeles Chargers. I almost said San Diego, but Los Angeles Chargers for a 6th-round pick. Now, in a way, it's good and bad because Desmond King, he was kind of vocal. He was kind of upset about his lack of playing time in Los Angeles. He is a really good corner and returner. So at least the Chargers got something for him, but it was kind of a steal for the Titans. Now, obviously, the Titans, they have a pretty good secondary, but the question for them is pass rush. I guess they figure, well, there's two sides of it when it comes to pass rush on the defense. You know, a really good secondary can make a quarterback hold on to the ball for a little too long, and that allows a pass rush to hit home. Or, of course, the easy way is to acquire really good pass rushers and they hit home. But the pass rush they've been struggling with, that is their Achilles heel of their defense. As we saw on Sunday against Joe Burrow and the Bengals. I mean, they acquired Jadeveon Clowney and Vic Beasley in free agency. However, no sacks in between them so far this season. So that's an issue. But I guess their thinking is beef up the secondary, make opposing quarterbacks hold on to the ball for a little bit longer, and then eventually that will help their front four to generate sacks. Harold Landry has probably been their best pass rusher so far this season. But still, secondary helps out a good pass rush. And then as well, we had Quan Alexander changed teams. He went from the 49ers to the Saints for Kiko Alonso and a 5th-round pick. Now, as both sides are concerned, first for the Niners, they got two really good linebackers as well. They already got Dre Greenlaw and Fred Warner, two guys they're going to have to pay soon. And obviously, Quan, he signed that big contract prior to last season. He's been in and out of the lineup the last 2 years. So that's an issue. But they move away the contract and they bring in a good veteran and Alonzo as well as a 5th-rounder. As for the Saints are concerned, they have two solid linebackers in Demario Davis and Alex Anzalone. However, this adds more speed, adds more ability to their defense as they make that push for a playoff run down the stakes and potentially the chance to get another ring for Drew Brees and Sean Payton. If this is potentially Drew's last year, of course, the Saints are going to be in potentially cap space hell next year. So they want to push all the chips in this year and just go for it. So those were so far all the key real trades of the trade deadline, which kind of, or as of today and yesterday, but no real marquee, no star player name that came, which of course everyone's hoping for at the trade deadline, but so far nothing's materialized. So next, talking about UFC Fight Night on Saturday night, Anderson Silva versus Uriah Hall. The psyche, the talk about Uriah Hall, of course, throughout his UFC career is he's basically that hesitant guy. He looks the part, but he's always been that hesitant guy, per se, in some of his fights. He hasn't really had that killer instinct, basically, per se, when it comes to some of his fights that people scratch their head about. But, of course, this fight, it was booked 4 years ago. Supposed to take place on the night where Stipe faced Werdum. But gallbladder emergency forced Anderson Silva out of the fight. And, of course, Uriah Hall was supposed to take on Yoel Romero earlier this year, but Yoel pulled out due to injury. And then we got this fight matched up again, Uriah Hall versus Anderson Silva. It was a pretty alright fight. Uriah Hall finished Anderson Silva in the 4th round. with this being Anderson Silva's fight, and of course the hesitance, the aura of, this is Anderson Silva's last fight. Yes, um, he's not the Anderson of years past, but he's still Anderson Silva in this last fight. It's kind of a burden, but Uriah Hall went there, got the job done. TKO finish, finish Anderson Silva, and Anderson Silva will ride off into the sunset. See, Anderson Silva, you may like him, you may not like him, but the reality is you have to respect him for what he's done in UFC. He's a legend in the sport. Um, you know, prior to his loss to Chris Weidman, he had won 16 straight fights, no losses. Um, you know, he beat Chris Lieben back when when Chris was so legit. He beat Rich Franklin when Rich Franklin was the man at 185 at middleweight, not once but twice. He beat Patrick Cote. He beat Damian Maia in probably the worst fight in UFC history, which put a salty taste in all of our mouths. There was the rivalry with Chaelson, which you can kind of say revived the aura around Anderson Silva's career with that comeback. And then the second fight, it was just better. He beat Chaelson not once but twice. He beat Vitor Belfort. He avenged his loss to Yushin Okami. He beat Stephan Bonner. He beat Forrest Griffin. He beat James Irvin. He was a winner for a long time. He looked invincible in the octagon. And I think the biggest one if around Anderson Silva's career will be never getting that super fight with GSP. They were both on a roll. They were both dominant in their divisions. And of course, people were talking about, what if they faced each other? What would happen in a super fight? And that never materialized for whatever reason. But you can always think about what if those two fought. And of course, honestly, Anderson versus GSP was much more magical or much more possible than Anderson Silva versus John Jones. That's just my opinion, but yeah. But still, hats off to Anderson Silva. No doubt he's going to be in the UFC Hall of Fame soon enough, and well deserved. Riding off to the sunset. Kudos to Anderson Silva. But so those are my thoughts on that. So next we'll go into recap of week 8 of the NFL season. The early games were not nice to me, to say the least. I was 7-7. And NFL Week 8. It was a crazy week, NFL week. Not much to say, but I'll go over it. So, first off, uh, well, also in the thumbnail, you'll see windy and crazy. Throughout the NFL and many of the games on Sunday, there were a bunch of windy games, and especially in the Raiders-Browns game, but I'll get to that in a sec. So, starting with the first game of NFL Week 8, it was the Panthers hosting the Falcons. And I had predicted the Panthers win 27-20. And I was wrong. Uh, the Falcons won 25-17. Now, see, the Panthers, I thought, were the better team, but coming in. But of course, a division rival. I mean, well, the story of the game was the offense line of the Panthers was struggling mightily despite some drives. And the defense was just holding their own pretty much. And for a while, it looked like the Panthers game to be had, but the defense of the Panthers, they just had no uh, answer for Julio Jones, honestly, which is crazy. I mean, especially when Calvin Ridley went out with an injury, which is more mind-boggling. But I mean, hats off to the Falcons. Raheem Morris, so far, he looks like um, he's doing some good things for the Falcons. That it just looks like they have more life. And I mean, the Panthers. So, well, hope Teddy Bridgewater is okay because he took a nasty hit. I mean, he finished the game, but still, you hope that he's all right and he's okay. That last interception on that last drive, which really kept it for the Falcons and kept them from blowing the lead. Um, you know, Falcons held the lead, and the Panthers, I'm not sure. Uh, so then we get to the Sunday games. So correctly, I had predicted the Steelers over the Ravens. This was pretty much, I would say, probably the game of the day, uh, which was in the mind of pretty much almost anyone. Could have predicted this was the game of the day, but I was correct. For the Steelers, I was a little incorrect on the score. So Steelers won 28-24 over the Ravens. I mean, the Ravens, they had ran rough shot on the Steelers, the run game. And, Ravens, they had over 200 yards on the ground against the Steelers. But Lamar Jackson, he threw 3 picks, or excuse me, 4. It was either 3 or 4, but nonetheless, the turnovers just killed the Ravens. The pick 6 to start the game. there were a few other and then a couple other interceptions that just was stunning. Now, the Steelers, yes, they're 7-0, but for the first half of the game, it was tough because they couldn't get anything going. And then the turnovers by the Ravens just kick-started the drives for the Steelers, and it still came down to the wire. It still came down to the final play. But, Lamar Jackson, it's just odd because, you know, well, the Steelers came to play. Their defense came to play. Their defense were primed to hit the hit the Ravens in the mouth and see how they would respond. And they responded well, but it's just, even though they're 5-2, the Ravens don't feel as special. I would say there's something missing about them as opposed to last year, and it's different. I'm not sure I'll explain it, but kudos to the Steelers. So next up, as far as Sunday games go, I had the score right, but the wrong team. I had predicted the Rams to win 28-17 over the Dolphins, but instead, the Dolphins won 28-17. I mean, now, Tua's first start, you know, he looked okay. I think everyone that says, well, he looked unimpressive, yes, I can agree, but still, this is his first start. So, we'll have to see more of him in the weeks to come. But the story today was the special teams and the defense of the Dolphins. Excuse me. The Dolphins defense, Brian Flores, going back to Super Bowl 53 against the Rams, he was the defense coordinator for the Patriots, and they shut down the Rams offense except for a field goal. And the Dolphins' formula was just beautiful, and turnovers by the Rams, miss passes, miss completions, missed opportunities by the Rams, just did not happen. Hats off to the Dolphins. Tua, like I said, he looked okay, but his first start, we'll see how he goes for down the road. On the bright side for the Dolphins is if Tua doesn't pan out to what they think, they got the Texans first round draft choice. So we'll see. And the Dolphins are right in the thick of things as far as AFC playoff contention is concerned. They are 4-3, and we'll see how they go down the road. They have a winnable schedule down the road, so we'll see. So next up, we had this was don't really know what to say, but hats off to the Jets. They scored 2 more points, and I thought I'd given them 2 more points. But, yeah, I think we all expected it. The Chiefs blew out the Jets 35-9. Like I said, they scored 2 more points than I thought they would. But so good for the Chiefs. 6-1 and rolling. This was another upset that just I'm happy for, but at the same time I'm like, that I was surprised. But the Packers lost at home and they were cooked by Dalvin Cook in Lambeau. The Vikings won 28-22. Now, for the first half of this game, it looked like it was going to be a shootout city. And by the end of it, it didn't look like it. It looked more like, well, basically, the Vikings controlled the clock. Dalvin Cook, he was healthy. He just ran roughshod on that Packers defense. And, we've seen against Tampa Bay and now against Minnesota, the Packers have a real problem against the run. And if you're a good running team, it's like, as we've seen, premier teams in the NFC. I mean, you look at the Seahawks with Chris Carson, if he's healthy. You look at the Rams, who love to run. You look at the Saints, even though they lost. They can very well know how to exploit. I think that if they played again, the Saints could win that game. Now, the good news is the Bears don't run well, but I think if the Bears can find a way to run, now they don't play for a few weeks, but if the Bears can understand that hold that the Packers have, they can certainly exploit that in Lambeau Field in a couple weeks. But hats off to the Vikings. They play Detroit next week, and they have some winnable games on their schedule. So they're not quite out of it. They still have a chance to make a run. But we'll have to see how things come. I'm not totally excited about the Vikings again, but we'll see how things go. But I'm just saying, good for them and good for the schedule coming up. So we'll see. The next game, this was when my emotion kind of took me over. And I'm sorry, Indianapolis. I'm sorry, Colts fans. I predicted the Lions to beat the Colts 26-23. Now, but the Colts won 41-21. See, here's the thing. The Lions were on a roll. They had won 2 straight. See, what the thing with Philip Rivers is sometimes he's hot, sometimes he's cold, sometimes he makes bonehead mistakes. But if Philip Rivers and the Colts don't make it too hard on him and just he does what he needs to do behind that wall of an offensive line, they have a pretty good defense. If they can just do what they need to do, they are a force in the AFC. Now, next week they face the Ravens in a very interesting matchup. So we'll see about that. But kudos to the Colts. They are tied with the Titans now. Now, like I said about windy and crazy, this game was windy and ugly conditions. The Raiders beat the Browns 16-6. I mean, last week when OBJ was injured and lost their season, the Browns said it was disrespectful to speculate that their offense might be better without OBJ. Now, Baker Mayfield threw his five touchdowns last week when OBJ was on the game. So that's still speculation. But this game, they had some nice plays running the football, but this was about the Raiders. They controlled the game. Josh Jacobs, their offensive line, they were the more desperate team to stay in playoff contention, and, well, they did their job. And they kind of have to thank the wind for that as well, because like the wind blew one of their field goals away to start the game, did the same for the Browns at the end of the game. So, who was that? Yeah, kudos to the Raiders. They're 4-3 now. They're still in the thick of things as playoff contention is concerned. The Browns 5-3 now. They're still in good contention, but we'll just have to see down the line. This was another one of those games that just was an upset. The Bengals beat the Titans in Cincinnati 31-20. Now, the story of this game was, first of all, no pass rush for the Titans. Second of all, some miscues, some missed chances by the Titans. The Titans, interception inside the 5 for Tannehill. At the end of the half, they messed around, and instead of kicking a field goal before halftime, they didn't get any points. So automatically, that's at least 6 points off the board. That was odd. And then the missed field goal again by Gostkowski. That's at least 9 points off the board. It's just crazy. But credit to the Bengals, credit to Joe Burrow. after he said that there's winnable games left on their schedule, and I mean, with Cincy, I'm not ready to count them out, but still, when you look at the other teams in the AFC, I mean, there's a bunch of parity in the AFC, which is good to see. Because, I mean, you got the Titans, you got the Colts, you got the Raiders, you got a bunch of other potential wildcard teams. You got the Dolphins, you got the Ravens. Can Cincinnati? Maybe, but we'll see. The Titans, though, I'm so high on the Titans. I still like their offense. I still like Derrick Henry. I still like Ryan Tannehill. It's just their defense is disappointing. I mean, they're about being a physical team, playing smash mouth football, and sometimes throwing some shots. Tannehill has shown that when Derrick Henry isn't running all too well, that he can win the game. But their defense and the lack of pass rush may just be the thing that keeps them from potentially the Super Bowl. I had a feeling I was going to be right in the next game, although I wanted to be wrong. I picked the Bills over my Patriots. I mean, for a second, it looked like I was wrong, or I was going to be wrong. See, the Bills are. The Patriots' run defense is bad. And part of that is the opt-outs. Part of that is the lack of big men on our front four. But our offense still hung tight with the Bills all day. But it was a fumble by Cam at the end of the game that when it looked like we were in position to tie it, at least, instead it's a fumble and the Bills win the game. Now, here's what I'll say about both teams. For starters, the Bills. They look not as impressive as they did for 4-0. The Bills are good, but I have questions about them. They don't look as... It's just hard. They don't look like... I'm not as convinced by them right now, which is weird. As for the Patriots go, I mean, at least we have the Jets next week. But what I'll say is we didn't have Gilmore, we didn't have Harry, we didn't have Julian Edelman, and we still did some good things. And Cam looks more healthy. So that's what I'll say. But cool, hats off to the Bills. Why, Chargers? Why do you have to blow another big lead? That goes to the next game. For starters, kudos to Drew Lock. What a game for Drew Lock. 4 touchdowns. He kept them in this game when it looked like it was out of reach. And Justin Herbert can play. Justin Herbert is a gem for these Chargers. But the Broncos found a way to stay in this game, and then as time expired, Drew Lock and the Broncos threw the game-winning touchdown with the extra points, and I'm worried about Gus Bradley and, well, him and Anthony Lynn's job at the end of the season are concerning to me. And I just don't know. There were 3 other games when they had at least 11 plus point leads in it, and they blew them all against the Saints, against the Chiefs, and against the Bucs. So, and of course on Sunday against Broncos. So I mean, in reality, they could be 6-1, but instead of the 2 and jeez, I'm just the Broncos are excuse me, not the Broncos. Good for the Broncos, but the Chargers are frustrating. I was right about this. The Seahawks beat the 49ers 37-27. I just had this feeling that, with the way they've been designing the game for Jimmy G and the way the Seahawks lost to the Cardinals on last Sunday night, I just felt that they were be more motivated to get back on the winning track, and well, they did. They mostly dominated this game. The score doesn't really reflect how one-sided it was. Now, the status of Jimmy G and George Kittle is not good. So it'll be interesting to see how the 49ers go forward. But Russell Wilson is definitely the lead candidate for MVP this season. It'll be interesting to see how it goes for them. I mean, they're still not allowed fans in the stadium yet at Century League Field. But if things get better in Seattle, the Seahawks get first place in the NFC. They get the bye, and potentially they can have their 12s and playoff football. Just watch out. And they get Jamal Adams back. Of course, they acquired Carlos Dunlap, and they're going to get Snacks Harrison. So, interesting if you're a Seahawks fan. Next one, it took overtime, but the Saints and Drew Brees battled against the Bears. And, I was right about this, but I felt conflicted down the stretch because of all the talk about the Saints, against the Bears. Credit the Bears offense hasn't been matching their defense as of late. But I found an interesting stat about the Bears, and particularly Nick Foles against the Saints on Sunday. With a clean pocket, Nick Foles 20 for 28, 187 yards and 2 touchdowns, no picks. What does that tell you? It tells you that it's not particularly Nick Foles, it's the O-line. And for some of the game, Matt Nagy's play calls, he needs to improve. With a leaky O-line, you have to call plays, quick plays, that are designed to help an O-line and your quarterback. And people are going to say, well, Trubisky, he's mobile. But have you watched Trubisky this season and last season? He is inconsistent. He's more mobile than Foles, but I trust Foles right now more than Trubisky. He is the better thrower. He's not as mobile, but you get what you get with Nick Foles, and you don't know what you get with Mitchell Trubisky. Plain and simple. Now, they're 5-3. Well, first of all, Nick Foles, they had a 10-point lead in the second quarter, and then they let down 10 to tie it and send it to overtime, which they were able to do. However, the play calls were again suspect, and you gotta have some urgency. Credit to the Saints. It feels like all that talk about Drew Brees to start the season, which was pathetic, has dwindled down, and the Saints are getting it done. No Emmanuel Sanders and no Michael Thomas on Sunday. Credit, they're going to get Emmanuel Sanders back, and then Michael Thomas will have to see about his status. But as for the Bears, they're 5-3. However, they still have some winnable games on their schedule. They can easily be above 500 at the end of the season. But I just figure if they don't make the playoffs, then I don't think you can just look at the quarterback. You have to look at the play calling and the play callers. Not just the quarterback. Credit the quarterback is in there, but I like Foles, and I think their offense for some part did its job against the Saints. And then we got to Sunday Night Football, jumping ahead. But the Eagles won over the Cowboys. Credit as they should have. Now, this was odd to look at because Carson Wentz had 4 turnovers. 4. And Ben DiNucci making his first start with the Cowboys were ahead 9-7 going into halftime. And it's an embodiment of this division right now. It's wacky. I said that Carson Wentz is the reason why Philadelphia is the best team in this division. However, again, he frustrates me with some of his decisions. He just does too much or he looks for too much when in reality he just needs to take what the play gives. And it's frustrating sometimes. However, they won the game. Their defense did what it seemingly needed to do. Now they're 3-1. They have their bye week next week. They can potentially get Miles Sanders back. They got Dallas Goedert back on Sunday night. They also got Jason Peters back. Jalen Reagor, he can get more healthy. I mean, I don't know what's with Alshon Jeffrey. It's just, I don't know, but they can potentially get healthier, and I don't know. As for the Cowboys are concerned, they seemed more fired up for this game and didn't embarrass themselves for the most part. They seemed more into it. They seemed to have more life. However, at the same time, they lost. And look, here's what I'll say about Dak. I would be willing to pay him based on what I've seen about these Cowboys this season. I would be willing to pay Dak a couple more million than I was originally planning to pay him. But nonetheless, these problems are more than just him. So there's that. But kudos towards the Eagles. Then the last game of Week 8, the Bucks beat the Giants 25-23. I mean, this was bizarre. Now, the Buccaneers played the Saints Sunday night, and you thought if the Giants had a chance, they would have to be catching the Bucks looking ahead towards the Saints. Now, the Giants came to play. The Giants, I mean, this has been the story of the Giants all season. The Giants have been competitive in every one of their games. And, you know, they could be above 500. But little mistakes, just one play has turned the other way, and this is what their record is. I mean, they could beat the Rams, they could beat the Bears, they could beat the Cowboys, they could beat the Eagles, but nonetheless, this is where they're at. I mean, I like what Joe Judge has done with the Giants in his first year. Um, I think he's really, and Patrick Graham as a defense coordinator. I think they have really turned a corner, and they have been, they're better than what the record has shown. But now, Daniel Jones, he had some bright spots last night, and he had some bad spots. I mean, the 2 interceptions, he failed to hook up on the 2-point conversion to tie the game, and 3 shots downfield. He had the chance to open up this game, but he didn't connect on those opportunities. And what happened? He let the Bucks find the rhythm and get back in this game and take it. And that's what happened. Now, I like Daniel Jones. I like him. But he's got to clean up his flaw as turnovers. I mean, he probably loves to work in a bakery. He probably loves some turnovers. But this ain't a bakery. This is the NFL. And turnovers are not good unless you're a defense player. And he's a quarterback. But credit the Buccaneers. They kept it to it and they found a way to win going into the big game Sunday night versus the Saints. So those are my thoughts. Recap of Week 8. Now prediction time. Prediction time for Week 9. Got a bunch of interesting games going next week. Try to get through this as quick as I can, but still see. So, starting off Week 9 on Thursday. Green Bay Packers travel to Santa Clara to play the 49ers, where last year they got beaten up not once but twice. No Jimmy G, will be Nick Mullins. No George Kittle. However, when you can beat up when you guys a special sauce that can, and when you crack the code on a certain team and beating them like Kyle Shanahan's 49ers have beat up on Matt LaFleur's Packers, I just think that Kyle Shanahan, it won't be a blowout, it'll be close, but I think he's found a way to exploit some of the things in that defense, that Mike Penn defense. So I'm actually going for, plus they're more desperate right now, the 49ers over the Packers 26-23. Next up, going to Sunday games. Giants go to Washington to play Washington football team. Now, the Giants, obviously, they played competitive against the Bucks last night. Washington lost the previous encounter by 1. but it felt like Washington was controlling the game. I just think that Washington, they got more of a chance to win the division. I think with the way the Eagles are right now, I actually like Washington over Philly. So I'm actually going for Washington to avenge the loss 24-22 over the Giants. Next game's very interesting. 5-3 Bears go to Tennessee to play the 5-2 Titans. Both teams need a win. Both teams are perennial playoff teams. But both teams are kind of reeling. Now, we've seen what Nick Foles can do when a pass rush doesn't hit home. He can pick apart a defense. And the Titans, while I liked their offense, their defense has confused me. And the pass rush, if it can't hit home, Nick Foles can do enough to beat you. And then that defense can do enough to clamp down. So I think that if Terrell Warren was still healthy, I'd probably feel a little different, but I'm actually going with the Bears to win this. I think they need this a little more because of how the Packers are. So I'm actually going, like I said, the Bears 27. It'll be close. 27-24. Oh, Titans. So, next up, the Lions going to Minnesota to play the Vikings. In division, now, Lions, they were on a little bit of a roll, and then they ran into the Colts. The Vikings, okay, Dalvin Cook is healthy. Both teams still have a chance. Looking at both their schedules. However, I just think that with a newfound life, especially since they burned me on Sunday, I'm going with the Vikings to win 28-23 over the Lions. Next one should be interesting. Carolina going to Kansas City. Is Christian McCaffrey going to be back? Should be interesting. Now, the Panthers have done some things well. They still have a good cast of offense and a interesting young defense. The Chiefs, as we know, are the Chiefs. However, we've seen in a couple games this season where if it's not a big-time great opponent, that the Chiefs can stumble. And Panthers, while they are talented, they aren't one of these good playoff teams that we have kind of presumed with, say, the Packers, the Seahawks, the Saints, the Bucks, the Bears, in the NFC. But therefore, I think because, well, we saw that the Chiefs didn't take the Jets lightly. So, however, I still think the Panthers can make this close for a little bit, but then the Chiefs will pull away towards the end. So I'm going to go with the Chiefs to win 30-21. Next up, Houston Texans go to Jacksonville and take on the Jags. Now, the Jags, Gardner Minshew, still nursing a thumb injury, won't play. So Jake Luton, whichever, sorry if I butchered his name, will get his first start, 6th rounder. How well, the Jags offense is not really talented. So for a rookie to make his first start, I mean, well, you got James Robinson, who's a young rookie, pretty good running back. So there's a shining light. Plus, DJ Chark, some good things, but still not a lot of talent on that Jags roster. Some young talent, some uprising talent, but they're just not as good. Whereas the Texans, you still got Deshaun Watson, you still got quality receivers, you still got J.J. Watt. So I'm going with the Texans 23-10 over the Jags. Sorry, Jake Loon. This is interesting. 5-2 Baltimore against 5-2 Indianapolis in Indianapolis. Now, the Ravens coming off that dogfight against the Steelers. The Colts taking care of business in Detroit. The Ravens, now, they controlled the clock with that run game, but Lamar Jackson has shown that if you can ruffle him, if you can bother him, he will make mistakes. And especially now without Ronnie Stanley, whether it's DeForest Buckner or Justin Houston or even Danico Autry, I think the Colts can exploit that, put some pressure on Lamar Jackson. They got a good enough defense, and if Philip Rivers doesn't do too much or doesn't have to do too much, then the Colts can win this. So I'm going with the Colts 31-26. So another interesting game. 6-1 Seattle with the MVP frontrunner Russell Wilson going to Buffalo to take on Josh Allen and the Bills. Now, the Bills Yes, they're good. They're 5-2. However, they look unimpressive ever since they lost to the Titans. And the Seahawks are firing on all cylinders. Credit they lost, but their offense, now, I don't think that Josh Allen, I like him, but I don't think he has what it takes to exploit that Seattle defense. And I think just Russell Wilson will do a little bit more and take care of business in Buffalo. So I'm going with Seattle 35-23 over Buffalo. Next up, Broncos, after that comeback win against Chargers, now going to Atlanta, who also had a surprising win last week against Panthers. Now, the Falcons had, the half bye with that 10 days rest playing on Thursday night. The Broncos was an emotional win. If they can win this, they're back to 500, 4-4, and are still in the thick of things as far as playoffs are concerned. I'm a little torn because what's the status? Calvin Ridley, I'm not sure. I still trust Matt Ryan more than I trust Drew Lock. So at the end of the day, I'm still going with the Falcons to win 2 straight. I got them winning 28-22. Next up, the Raiders going to LA to play the Chargers, who let up another lead. Now, the Raiders won that ugly game in Cleveland. I don't think the weather will be as bad in LA. So, look, I like Justin Herbert, but that coaching of that game management of the Chargers is baffling. And John Gruden, at the end of the day, I can trust more to control the clock instead of Anthony Lynn, and that offensive line will get more healthy. Still have to see about the status of Trent Brown. Hopefully he's recovering better and better. So I'm going to go with the Raiders to win this 27-21, get to 5-3, and the Raiders are explosive. Plus, with Joey Bosa and concussion protocol, don't know about his status. So, next up, the 7-0 Pittsburgh Steelers going to Dallas to play the Cowboys. Now, maybe Ben DiNucci maybe Andy Dalton, maybe Cooper Rush. I don't know. I don't care. I'm going with Pittsburgh. 31-13 at the Cowboys. Next up, Miami going to Arizona. Tua versus Kyler Murray. Now, Miami, they won against the Rams. However, Tua did not look good. Now, I expect him to look a little better because the Cardinals defense is worse than the Rams defense. So I expect perhaps with another week of preparation, Tua will be better. However, I think the Cardinals are the better team, and Kyler, he can make some more off-script plays than Jared Goff, in which Jared Goff is not as mobile and shifty as Kyler Murray. So therefore, I'm going to go with the Cardinals to win, although I think it'll be close. This Dolphins team is good, but the Cardinals, I'm going with 30-24. And it's the big one, Sunday night. Saints at Tampa Bay. Brees vs. Brady in Tampa Bay, Part 2. This is interesting because, Bucks are expected to get Antonio Brown. What's the status of Chris Godwin? As for Saints, they're going to get Emmanuel Sanders back. What's the status of Michael Thomas? So, now, the Saints have a really good run defense. Of course, the Bucks, Ronald Jones had a good week in week 1. So, however, that defense showed some flaws against the Giants. I'm conflicted. I'm going back and forth. I've never predicted a tie, and I won't start now. So, high scoring game. Saints win 34-31. There's that. So, then to cap off week 9, Patriots at Jets. Yeah, I'm picking Jets. No, I'm just kidding. You know I'm going to pick the Patriots against the Jets. So, 26-7. There's that. Maybe I'm being too kind, giving them 7 points, but we'll see. So those are my thoughts, my predictions. Week 9. Hopefully this week is not as crazy, and I have a better record than 500 again. But so that's the episode. I hope you guys enjoy this. I know I did. This week of sports, election day, so keep calm, everyone, and just be safe as we still get through this pandemic. Hope you all being safe. I'm Joe Love. Like I said before, like and subscribe. Click on that bell. I'll be back on Thursday with your AW Dynamite review. Also, because Full Gear is on Saturday, I'll probably do a Full Gear review on either Sunday or Monday. So there's that. So I hope you guys enjoy this. I'm Rachel True in Love. See you on Thursday. Peace.